Yeah, I was talking about my mother remember crying like
Oh, yeah, that was
2 years ago. Or last year.
she,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't realize how tall he was.
Oh, yeah, it's way too, yeah, it's way.
I think so.
How do you not just squish her all the time?
Yeah. Because I want to
Actually,
go
she
to
said,
5 in the morning.
she actually said to me, "Does he have a-" Here,
I was also one reason. She had the.
Vivian James. Yeah.
She's her name.
Hmm.
So that's why I want to wait for Vivian to put the phone down. So. All right, ready?
Ready whenever you are.
Call to order. Today is Tuesday, February 15th. It is now 6:40 PM. Town Council Chambers, meeting 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Bourget,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Yeah.
Council Vice President Mary Beth Williamson,
Here.
and Council President Goslin.
I want my first name.
Sorry.
You know, she
Quorum is
switches it,
declared.
she switches it up every time.
I
Keeps
do.
us
Just
on our
make sure we're
toes.
paying attention.
All right, ordinances. Second reading of ordinance amending Appendix C traffic ordinances of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Moving second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Is that on?
Yes,
Yes.
hi.
The.
The road, the roadway drive was requested by Councilman Licciardi. That's just a stop sign. As I said 2 weeks ago, the no parking at the corner signs, that was brought to our attention by Derek Reed. And it went to Major Archambault. We have in the town an ordinance that says you can't park within 20 feet of a corner. However, because of the apparently blatant violations that were going on here, Major Archambault and I thought that in this particular instance, it would be better to give the notice we normally give and be very specific and put the 4 no parking signs up. If you want further information about what was going on, I would suggest Derek can inform you better than I can.
Any questions from the council? Any public comment on the ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
We're talking about Roundway Drive, correct? The first,
We're doing both of them.
It's two
They're
of
both
them,
on the
yeah.
same
Yeah,
ordinance.
that's in my ward. I'm not familiar with that. Nobody has reached out to me with anything. Makes sense. But I don't know if we're close with that. Is that something you're,
Well, I mean, for my conversation with Al, but I agree with him.
so, yeah, I don't know. Nobody contacted me,
Yeah.
so.
My Major Archambault and the traffic committee reviewed it.
So it came from the traffic committee.
Oh, I'm so, okay.
Yeah, it didn't come from a constituent.
All right.
I went, well, it did, and then I went to.
I'm on to sponsor it, so I just want to make sure. I am for it, though. It makes sense.
All right. And we didn't know last time because you weren't,
I wasn't
unfortunately,
here.
you weren't here. So it did say sponsored by you. Any other comment?
You're doing the call.
Doing a roll call
Yeah.
vote? Jay?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes,
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
thank you.
Signs can't go up tomorrow. It has to be 20 days.
Yep.
I'll put the polls up first and wait.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, approval of minutes, February 1st, 2022 executive session and February 1st, 2022 regular town council meeting.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Licenses,
Recuse myself.
Licenses. Do I have somebody who wants to move the licenses?
Move the licenses. I don't know if you're going to read them or not. No.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Is Lori on? I know she said she was going to try to log in.
No.
If not, I do have,
So there are three of them that are the same,
Yep.
different times from Show Me Reptile and Exotic Show. One's in March, one's in July, and one's in October. And the fourth request is from the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick for parade permit.
correct. So the first three, I can speak on from Lori. She did send me an email. This was an event that came in for the first time last year. It was very successful. I know Lori was nervous with all the reptiles and everything in there, but it was very successful. So they booked 3 more times with us. Her notes were wonderful people. They pay everything up front, license, all the details. And they will follow all COVID protocols as needed because they were here last year. And that's if there's any going on when the time comes. So that's those 3. And then obviously, good news is the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's is back after 2 years hiatus. So the parade will be happening. Was it March 13th?
Yes.
So that's a good news for the town. I know many people have been asking, so the permit's here and that's what it's for. Any questions? Any public comment on the licenses? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And for the record, Councilman Messier recused himself.
Appointments and resignations. Consideration of request for appointment to the planning board for term ending July 2026.
Supposed to be on for
Yeah.
3 times. I think this.
I don't think
This is
this
the
is,
third time.
it is the third time. You sure? It's not the second. Okay.
Yeah, we had verified that at the last meeting, that the last meeting was the second. This is the third.
Okay, so I'm just waiting for my.
So then I think, David, you had a suggestion that we approve and appoint Jess Rubry moving up.
Yeah, Jess Rubry is an alternate on the board. And I know Randy Kutu did put his application in, and I think Jess should go to the permanent position. And then, we still have to take applications. But if Randy's the only one, I support him as
Yes.
an alternate on the board. Let him get used to it,
And you
attend
can-
those meetings and.
And you can do school, I didn't know you can do school committee and do another board.
Yes.
Yeah, we have school committee members on other boards. The only one, I think the only ones is really state, and town council should not be on any boards.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Any questions? So I move the name of Jess Rubry.
And I'll second that.
Moving second, any discussion?
And also encourage Rainey to apply. We will post
Well, we'll
3
take his
times.
application. We can
Yeah.
take his application and slide it over, correct?
David,
Yeah,
as legal counsel of the planning board, I would welcome her to the board. She's been a very valuable asset.
great, that's good to hear.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Al.
Right, no other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And we will post for that alternate.
After your discussion of new business 06.
Perfect.
We will post it appropriately.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, new business finance report for January 2022.
Good evening, council.
Hi, Kristen.
Please forgive me. I've had a root canal, so I'm going to do the summary version of this because
Okay.
I'm drooling.
We're gonna ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah, very
You're gonna see
unattractive.
It's going to be
Yes.
very yuck, gross. As usual, current tax collections are running ahead at 77.18% of budget for current year taxes. We've completed 3 collection quarters. I know after I did this report, Joanne caught up on the batches and we had like another 800,000 for the 3rd quarter that got posted. Prior year tax collections are starting to catch up, and as always, they start to increase as we push forward with tax sale. Overall revenues are at 66.11%, higher than the expected 58.33. Expenditures are trending under budget at 53.76. That's 4.57% lower than what is expected. I do project that this gap will shrink as we approach year end. The Civic Center has current operating expenditures of $245,359.16 and operating revenues of $434,852.60. The town's financial statements have been issued, and once again, we received an unmodified opinion. I had emailed the PDF and a summary, and I also gave you all your hard copies tonight. The bank balance as of 2/8 was 21,901,608.03, including the 4.3 million of ARPA money.
That it? Any questions for Kristen? Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Authorization to file the application Rhode Island Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program in the amount of $1,280,000. And Elaine is here to
I
speak
move
on
that we authorize the filing of the application.
Second,
Moved and seconded, discussion. Elaine is here. She fights hard every year and tries to get as much money as she can for the town. Unfortunately, Ward 5 is not eligible.
No, Ward 5, we're, supposedly the rich people, but I beg to differ on that one.
is Elaine on?
Yes, she
Yes.
is.
Elaine, I have one question.
Yes,
When you submit this, what is the time frame before we get an answer? I know I've asked this every year, I just forget.
they're telling us by the end of May.
And obviously, it's the housing rehabilitation, Phoenix infrastructure, Crompton, and Arctic infrastructure. So those are the four things. And actually, Human Services Senior Center, St. Elizabeth Adult Daycare, and Look It Upwards. So total of 1.28 million that she's applying for this year. So hopefully we can get all of it. That'd be great.
I want to thank you, Lane, because the email exchanges back and forth is probably the most informative thing I've seen since I've been on the council. Is just the amount of communication that was just going on was good.
Elaine does a terrific job.
Elaine, what do you think the chances are?
I think they're pretty good. We've done fairly well in our awards over the past 20 years, so I'm pretty confident that we will do the same this year.
You don't give yourself enough credit. We've done better than fairly well. We've done a great job. So,
Put a lot of money in.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Elaine?
Can you figure out Ward 5 is? Never mind.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Resolution authorizing payment for installation of LED lighting at recreational facilities from American Rescue Plan
Move the
Fund.
resolution.
Second.
Move in second, discussion. Mark?
Good evening. This has been a long-standing proposal that started at the end of, I think, 2019. We received our first proposal under former Director Ouellette from RISE. We've been trying to work on a fiscal plan to use energy credits, but have had extreme difficulty in pulling that off. But with American Rescue Plan funds, I'm proposing that we move forward with this. The particular proposal that we received back in February of 2021, it's been slightly revised. Some of the costs have gone up, but the incentives have gone up slightly too, that offset most of it. So I'm proposing that we go with the plan as originally described to us, which includes McCarthy, Ray Silva, Amby Smith, Cal Ripken or Raina, depending on who you want to listen to, and the senior and junior softball fields would be under this phase of the project. We'll continue to assess our other facilities and fields with RISE and do another proposal in the future. So I'm requesting to encumber $360,021 of American Rescue Plan funds towards this project.
Any questions for Mark?
Yes, just a couple. Is this the total? We pay the 360 and it's done?
Mhm.
It's done.
For
We
this
owe no-
project is
For those
360.
no
fields
more
that
money.
were announced. yes.
Those are all done. The only outstanding expenses that I've been told we may have is there may be some disconnects that we have. This price includes 9 disconnects. I'm told there is as many as 15 there. If they're in poor condition, then we'd engage our own electrical inspector or contractor to adjust or replace or eliminate those. But this is the all-in cost. Obviously, the incentives are significant. You can see the total for the project is a little more than 493,000. So ours would be the 360,000. And we'd be paying it now, not taking out a loan. And obviously, we expect significant savings in our maintenance cost for the bulbs that we've been replacing and renting a lift. We expect that to be quite significant. And it's, you know, the first phase of, in my opinion, rehabbing our recreational projects. The Recreation Committee is eager to be very involved in getting some things accomplished and working with the administration to make some great leaps and bounds over the next couple of years.
What's the time frame that this could, so if this goes through tonight, then what's the time frame? Because we're February 15th, a month and a half.
Right. So I'd work with, Rise has already said they'd work with us and work with Fred and Jeff to schedule the fields that make sense first, ones that would expect first tournaments and seasons to start. Plan accordingly.
And I know it does say that other facilities will be looked at. I would recommend that certainly Masnicki be one that we take a hard look at,
Right.
since
We had a
Friday Night
building
Lights.
Committee meeting yesterday, and that was not on the agenda, but was mentioned for a future agenda. The school department is looking to partner as well. And I had spoke to them about shared facilities and doing not necessarily a better job, but coordinating what the town has to offer to get the best bang for a dollar and make sure the fields that are available are getting used appropriately.
And not only are we going to save in maintenance, but good and bad, you know, we talk about credits. I mean, we have an abundance of credits that we were looking to use for this. And I think, Jay, I think you were part of the initial meetings with Ernie and myself, everybody in the back room over there when I say back room, it was the vault, because it was the only place we could spread out. Because there was a meeting going on in here. They were also talking about the LEDs obviously going to save us electricity, although we use our wind turbines and we get the credits. We just got to make sure that we're able to, you know, cash out those credits and we don't have an overabundance of credits. We got to make sure we continue cashing those in, which I think we're doing very faithfully now. So, and it's nice to see that the wind turbines are actually making a couple $100,000 a year, if not more.
Up to 500 already.
Yeah, half, it's making, after all electrics being paid, I want to make that clear, after all electrics being paid throughout all our town buildings, library, schools and everything else, we're still coming up with $500,000 in credits. And this will actually bring even more
And
credits.
that's only so far for this year with 4 months.
4 months remaining. We're doing, the wind turbines are overproducing, which is a good thing. So
So I know.
As long as you can sell the credits.
I-
Right.
Yeah. that was my
That's
question.
right.
After the initial meeting, I know you were trying to get a hold of the people regarding the credits. As they build and build, what can those credits be used for? Can they be used for like a second phase of the lighting?
So the only way Rise will do it is if it goes on our electric bills, and we can't put those charges on the electric bills when we're using the energy credits. So we could certainly, you know, expense to the energy fund, but not go on the energy bills. And I think the idea was that eventually, once and in this audit, the energy fund is finally in a positive net position, that we would start using the credits to somewhat reduce the burdens on all the different departments. So it would offset the debt service and then ultimately what we're charging all the other departments.
hopefully we can
So-
either take it off the charge in the departments or at least pay some of that debt off as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because we are on a 25-year or 25
20
20-year
20, yeah.
payment plan. So if we can reduce that with our credits, and then I know there was a lot of discussion of the state was trying to limit the credits that each municipality have. I know I've had conversations, I think Mary Beth's had some conversations with senators and reps, making sure that they're protecting the town of West Warwick. I talked to Pat Serpa, Tom Norray, and Senator Burke on the matters. So that way there, if that comes before them, that they try not to make sure they don't support that. So, you know, a lot of cities and towns are starting to think about wind turbines and reducing their energy costs. And we have done that well in advance of a lot of cities and towns. So we want to make sure we protect our interests too, and we continue making money on these things.
Right.
Thank you, Kristen.
With this, I'm just gonna let everyone know, it's come up, it came to my attention a few times. I know I talked to Mark a little bit about it, But the field of Crompton Vets where football plays, that wasn't part of, it's not part of this, and it wasn't part of the initial meeting because it's a private field. I know that the president of football has, we've talked several times since that meeting about, all right, what about us? What's gonna happen? How can we do it and do this at the Vets field?
So I started doing some digging because I know you brought it up and I know I was part of that meeting also. So speaking to some old timers who were around when they were installed, they were installed by the National Guard back in the day. The poles were dropped, the lights were dropped, and that was their training facility. It's not the town's property, so there are some legal matters that we cannot use town funds to address those lights. There is a piece of the puzzle over there, though, that I found that they are leasing on the right side. So if you're looking in the parking lot where the poles are straight out, on the right-hand side, they are leasing town property for $1 a year, which the town signed many moons ago. It's just empty piece of land that's tied into there. Now, we can look at possibly installing lights on that side, but that would entail poles and everything else. So you gotta look at it. They've actually reached out to me about, not the football league, but Crompton Vets, about actually helping doing some stuff over in the field. I said we'd have to bring that up and talk about it later on, but as of right now, it is private property.
Right.
Most of it is. There is a section that's not. So until we can get further information on how if we could do it, the only other thing is, they've had conversations about selling that land also. So could be anything.
Yeah, we have to be careful about going down that,
No, I
going
totally
down that
understand
road and where does that stop? So I think we have to,
But I'm just saying it's gonna come up, it's
Yep.
probably gonna come to the council, so it
Okay.
might be
Yeah,
something.
if
we
they
can-
sold the land to the town, then we can look at it differently.
if the town wanted to spend the money to buy it.
Correct.
Yes,
Which would have to come up at an all-day referendum.
yeah, and I'm not,
But just, like I said, I did look into it and it was amazing the history I learned on light poles in Crompton. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Update on APRA funding and request for a public workshop.
Just a general discussion. I just wanted to provide an update and just kind of rehash what I thought the plan should be going forward and get concurrence and interest. Just as a part of history, with the American Rescue Plan funds, we have physically received half. So we have in excess of 4.3 million currently. We expect the other half, an additional 4.3 million at some point this summer, for a grand total of slightly more than $8.6 million. As a refresher, that we need to encumber the money by the end of 2024, and we need to have it expended by the end of 2026. My initial goal, and it's still my goal, is I've been collecting suggestions from various departments and organizations and some research on proposals. I still expect a few more, but what I would really like to do is to request a workshop where I can lay out what I've received to date. I was hoping to have some more concrete numbers on a few of the proposals, but at the very least, I'd like to lay out the proposals as they stand and what I think the priority list are. Some are based on safety and need, but I'd really like to get your group concurrence and help me prioritize where to go. Any proposal that I make is going to come before the council before it's done. But there are a significant number of them. And like I said, recreation was something that I thought was very important because it benefits the entire community and it's readily visible. And it's something that typically always suffers when the budgets get tight. So we have an opportunity to kind of make up for lost opportunities in the past. But some other things that I think we need to talk about, obviously sewer infrastructure is a big one. Going along with recreation, civic center and ice rink. We've already done some things with IT infrastructure and cybersecurity, some hospitality and tourism with the light post and banners. But there's probably some other economic development that we can do with some of the town-owned property and parking lots to get fixed up. COVID-related healthcare expenses internally, essential worker pay we took care of, and then the long list of general government expenses that we could come up with that I just don't want to create future debt by doing any of this. Looking at those one-time things that we can see and have immediate improvement. The other two that have come up that I don't want to say I'm hesitant to do, but I just know we don't have the internal infrastructure and personnel to manage it properly. So I really would need to engage third-party organizations to help with specific like economic recovery or revitalization and development type things in the business community or social services. I expect to have a proposal regarding affordable housing. I can't even speculate what it'll be, but I told them I'm willing to look at any proposal from viable groups, especially ones that are third party that would have some responsibility, because the town would be ultimately responsible for the compliance and the reporting. So I'd really need to have the faith in an organization that they're going to partner with us and do the right thing and be able to report appropriately.
Can you purchase property with that money?
We can do whatever normal government, because we're under the $10 million threshold, we can essentially do whatever governments do with the money, with the exceptions of we can't put it in pensions and we can't put it in general fund or debt service.
Okay.
So just again, as a method of, you've seen all the resolutions, everything's come before you. But so far, we've actually, on the town side, we've encumbered a little over $900,000 so far and actually spent $742,000. On the sewer infrastructure side, we've had some proposals that the money part hasn't been tightening down yet. But those are, one was 186,000, the other one was 238 for the water meter chamber and that dewatering conveyor. But we're still working on the proposals coming out of sewer infrastructure in lieu of capital expenditures over the next couple of years. But we'll talk about those. So basically, I'm just looking for some guidance and a commitment to schedule a workshop, perhaps for an hour at a time and date that is convenient to everyone, just to kind of run through what I have so I can continue with the prioritization.
And we'll allow public comment at that point in
Absolutely,
time,
yeah.
and we should have public input. There's no doubt. Yes, thank you.
Will we have an executive session at the March meeting?
What do you,
I'm thinking maybe we could do it like at 6 o'clock. And then go to the council meeting right after. First meeting in March.
well, I know we have a lot of meetings.
Unless you want to do it,
Budget
separately.
time. I think we need to have that meeting totally separate because it's going to be a couple hours. I don't foresee that being a quick meeting because you're gonna have probably representation of leagues and whatever here and discussion and all sorts. I'm sure the recreation committee is going to be here and they're going to have their questions. So, I think that workshop should be on its own. I don't know
Probably be a
about-
standalone. I agree.
So what do you look at?
I'm available most Tuesdays, Thursdays, Wednesdays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for me. Friday night, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I don't care.
When are you thinking, Mark?
Other than the week of March 13th, I can make it happen based on your schedules.
Because we do have a slew of workshops coming up and
21st and 28th are the workshops.
Of March, right? So do you want to do it sooner than that? Do you want to do it? Are you ready to present it?
I mean, I would have liked to have more firm numbers on proposals, but we're not getting down to the wire where we're looking to spend. We have X amount left and we're looking to spend it. So I'm more or less looking for guidance on the actual projects, how you'd like to see them prioritized, so we can get RFPs out and engage in consulting if we need them to.
Because this is just the first workshop, so it's just gonna be bouncing ideas back and forth anyway, so we.
Nothing
yeah,
Nothing formal. Again,
yeah.
everything that I do is gonna come before you as a resolution.
Right.
So again, just a simple,
So we have a meeting on March 1st. Do you want to do March 8th? We have 1 and 15, and then you have 21 and 28. So March 8th might be, it's a Tuesday.
I like March 8th also because it gives time for the public to be made aware of it. If we tried to do it next week, it'd
Excuse
be
me?
tough. so.
recreation meetings
Oh.
at 6, but if we want to do it before or after, or
Do it on the 7th on a Monday then. Actually, no.
Well, that might be,
Planning on the 7th.
yeah.
maybe Derek could have a short agenda and we can roll right into.
Well,
We can
Oh,
I
roll,
was just gonna say,
Well,
could they
that-
reschedule, because they'll probably, they
They'll
can come
probably
here.
want to be here, right? Yeah.
Well, for me, any night works. I mean, if we just want to leave it to Sarah to try and coordinate with the other places that use this room.
Yeah,
and then
March
just shoot
8th,
us-
March
So
8th
could-
works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want
March
to, can we
8th.
do March 8th? Is that all right?
6:00.
If you're gonna talk
Yeah.
about recreation, that's perfect, because that will answer a lot of questions that the committee may have, and
You want to do ours at 6 or?
You can cancel yours if you want.
and just come.
yeah,
I'm sitting back there taking notes anyway.
so March 8th at 6:00.
Yeah. Does that work?
Works for me.
Yeah.
March 8th, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I put it in my calendar already. What were the dates? The 21st and the,
28th.
with the budget meet,
The first, the two budget workshops.
21st, 20th, and they're both at 6?
Any other questions for Mark on that? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Claim from Linda David in the amount of $302.
Did we table this?
Yes, so it has to be more.
Did we table it or did we just did not address it? I don't remember.
It was tabled.
I think
I
it was
wasn't here, right?
tabled. I think you wanted more information from
Yeah,
Jeff.
table this, so it needs a motion.
Make a motion to move the item off the table.
I'll second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Now I just need somebody to move the claim.
Make a motion to move the claim.
I'll second.
Moving seconded. Discussion.
I read all the paperwork. I don't know Linda David. I don't know if she walked in here, I wouldn't know who she is. But I'm just looking at everything that she did. I'm trying to put myself in that situation. And it's to tie up your vehicle. And I don't know everybody's situation, but for me to tie up my vehicle to get 3 claims when I have somebody says I can fix it whenever, right away. I'm just gonna have them do it. And to look what she's done is all the letters she's written. She went to the DOT to get a request. I'm thinking of just paying the claim. I mean, it's not for it meets the requirement of the money. I understand why the director denied it. Because you're supposed to get 3 estimates, but in some cases, I mean, life doesn't work that way. You know, so
The only concern I had, I think, last time, and I think Jeff came up and said, there's no pothole where she said there was a pothole. That was my concern.
Right. And
That was and again, I know you weren't here, but it said no pothole where the pothole was, where the claim.
when I read it, maybe I read it wrong then, is when she had, says Porcelli's came and picked it up. Where did they pick it up? It was on Main Street, correct?
I don't think that information was given to us.
It just said it was picked up by Pacelli's.
I know we asked, I think it was Jeff last time, to look and see if there is any signs of a pothole ever being over
Nothing there at
there.
all.
Just come on up to the mic, Jeff, for the record.
Yeah, it says 1365 Main Street.
Jeff, Assistant Director, DPW. There was no, when we went out to look at it, there was no pothole in the area where she said it was in front of AJ's restaurant. There was nothing there, and I went from just past AJ's towards Pat's and came back up to Napa on that side of the road, and there was absolutely nothing. Nothing that was there and nothing that was recently filled. So now I'm not, by no means am I calling the lady wrong, but I don't think it, in my opinion, that would happen there because there's nothing there.
So even this actually happened back in the fall,
Right.
and you're saying you went from Napa heading towards Pat's?
Napa heading towards Pat's, almost past AJ's.
Yep.
And then, but she said it happened on the opposite side of the street, headed back towards town, so headed north. And I searched both sides, all the way up and down, and there was nothing on the northbound side that would indicate that
Where's the exact location?
she would have,
It says right across from AJ's and,
It says 1365. I don't know what
Valley
AJ's
Times,
is.
what it says on there.
yeah, so it's,
There was nothing, there was
No.
nothing at that time. Yeah, I mean, so that's a bigger issue to me than whether she got the 3. I mean, I think if there was no pothole, it's a moot point, whether the other stuff is a moot point, right? I mean,
Have we
is it
heard from
possible
her?
she noticed it there and it happened further down? I can't answer that question.
Has anybody in the town heard from her at all?
I haven't, I don't know, I don't think Fred has, I don't think any of us have.
the only pothole that I'm aware of over there was actually at the bridge right across from Pat's,
Which is still there,
which is still there. And,
because every time it rains, it comes back.
but the nice thing, everybody stops at the red light. and
Yes.
Slows down a little bit,
Yes.
so.
on the separate issue that Jason brought up about the 3 quotes, like, is that something
It's-
in
it's
past,
every-
is it a require, like, if we ever approved one without that?
So we've had claims where somebody says a tire costs $1,000 and it's really $250. So it all depends. If you know somebody like I can go to a shop and say, hey, can you write this up for me? And that's to prevent. So you
Yeah,
have 3 within reason, because even when you get 3, sometimes we see it here in bids. You see 3
no, I know,
wacky
I'm just,
total
I mean,
amounts.
a lot of times, I mean, we've deferred to the recommendation. I mean, most times I refer to the recommendation of the DPW when it comes to these things, so.
No, if the pothole was there, I don't have. a
What's the
problem.
angle? I took it from the angle that Jay just said of, all right, I need the vehicle. I don't have time to spend a
Right.
week getting 3
And
estimates.
it's 300,
And I agree
300
with Mark,
bucks.
but
I
if
just-
I
there was-
just-
if there was no pothole, that's a. big-
Right,
that's-
and I shouldn't assume, what happens when you assume, but I was looking at all this paperwork together, that there was a pothole there, and the issue was just the lack of the 3 estimates.
Yeah, usually if they said, usually on like Freddie or Jeff's recommendation, they'll say, we found pothole, we repaired pothole, but they haven't found the pothole. That's the problem.
There's plenty of other ones to choose from.
So is it worth, and I think she's either mine or yours, I think she's might be in mine. Yeah. Is it worth, Yeah,
No,
yeah. Is it worth at least reaching out to, again? I'm sure she didn't make it up. I don't know if she hit something else. I have no
Well, I
idea.
don't have any doubt that she didn't make it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, do you guys, I don't have her number personally. I mean, I don't know if we have a number for her
I
or.
don't know if there's anything in here. I never looked at that.
Yeah, it's on the
Should
claim,
be.
529.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't.
No, I stopped.
Yeah,
just want everybody to know it's the
yeah,
529.
right.
I think that's a good idea, Mary Beth.
Yeah,
At least to reach out so we can close this loop.
yes.
I want to do, do a recommendation. Can we change the claim form rules a little bit? Because I agree, the 3 quotes is a little obscene, but I would like to add like pictures so we actually know where the pothole there is, and then I know they do a police report, but I think the pictures would add more justification to the file claim. But I mean, the 3 quotes, I mean, that's gonna be a pain.
It's a
You know,
difficult
so
thing to
I-
do and
I
and
totally
getting it
agree.
done is
Especially if the amount they're asking is
reasonable.
reasonable, we
Right.
can figure out
Right,
whether it's
right,
reasonable or not
right.
reasonable.
Who's in charge of, if claim comes through,
So, so
where does it go?
So they go to the clerk's office and there's a form. It says like it has to be done within 7 days.
Right.
It needs 3 quotes. It's gonna have a police report. I can't remember. I think there's 1 or 2 other things on the form. But and then it gets sent to me and then we go and like try to look for it or oh crap, yeah, there is
That's another one, like the police report, in some instances.
it's
now, but what
a
if there's-
voluntary police report too. So it's
I
after the
understand,
fact.
But I mean, if
It's a
you-
walk-in thing.
yeah,
Right.
all right, okay, so it's not like they're,
They're not tying up.
okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is we've always looked at this, the 7 days, 7 days if it is a town road.
Mhm.
This situation was obviously longer than 7 days, But.
because she had to go
She
to the
went to
state. So
DOT.
she went
They
through
got to
all the
the-
proper,
Yes.
but the only thing is like we went and looked and we didn't see. And it could have happened anywhere and she could have stopped in front of there, so we don't know, but there wasn't, so where she had the location of the pothole, there was nothing there. Or substantial where a tire would have blew out. We didn't think anyway.
But
So
she
we didn't
might have
see it.
hit something earlier and
She
she
could have,
got
right,
to in
right.
front of what 1365 and then noticed
Right.
it and that was, yeah.
So,
I
I mean, but I think we should try to change a little bit of
Sounds
the
like
of
a
the
good idea.
justifications of the claim. Just to make it a little easier for the resident or the claimee, whichever you want to do it.
So who would be in charge of starting that process, Mark?
That's, well, the form's actually a clerk's form, so if they want to, if DPW wants to change it, then work with the clerk's office and change it to whatever you think is.
Yeah, so
So,
I apologize for the claimants in the past. I have to go through it, but I
yeah.
think it's just a little bit easier for the future.
And so. Although I don't mind reaching out to Linda, I actually know Linda. I tend to agree with what Jason said. She went through this process. She did DOT. It's clear that she's not making it up for $300. She
Right.
spent more than $300 of her time. I would almost suggest that we improve our process
I agree.
as Freddie said, suggesting, and just pay this claim for $300. I mean, that would be my recommendation. So that would be the motion that I guess that I would make.
I'll
second.
second,
second.
I'll third that.
Moving second and third.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I just, one other comment on that, though. I think instead of going down to one, because if you're gonna know somebody who knows a body shop, you should have two. It should at least be two. I mean, I agree, three is excessive, but one is too easy to scam. Two is a little bit more reasonable, I think. So,
But we're talking about $300
no,
max.
I'm not talking about this one.
Yeah, no, but aren't we talking about $300 max anyway? So that's the max.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
yeah,
yeah.
we've had situations where, it's come before us in the claims committee, or the claims, DPW fills out the claim on, it's a tree that fell on a mirror or something like that. I think stuff like that needs more, because I've actually watched somebody in here one day when I was in town hall, they came in, got their $600 check for that mirror, drove away, and the mirror was replaced already. And I can tell you right now, they didn't get the mirror for $600.
But I don't know,
So
I'm
why did they
thinking,
get $600? Because I thought the
'Cause they
max
got-
was,
They got something written up for them.
but all right, so
That's why I'm
sorry,
confused.
I thought
it
the
a
max
of
was 300.
This was
For
the town dropped
potholes.
the tree on a truck.
Oh, well, that's a different thing.
I'm
Yes,
thinking more,
yes.
I'm thinking a little bit different. I'm thinking more of, all right, if you need, all right, a mirror. Do you need the mirror? Yes. Can you still drive the car? Yes. Something happens with a tire, a rim, where you can't use that vehicle. It's difficult.
I
When you need the
agree with what
vehicle,
you were gonna say.
I'm gonna say pain in the ass. It is. It's a pain in the ass. You need the vehicle the next day, and then all of a sudden you have somebody there to fix it. Oh, wait, I gotta get another estimate.
Yeah, I
You gotta-
agree, I agree.
And
with
you
Jason.
can't drive anywhere. So what do you do with the van?
Yeah, so
So
I mean, I think it's, I like the two quotes, even if you do get it fixed, I think we should have another quote just to, just to back it up, because, Joe's Garage might charge 300 and Mike's might charge 650. So obviously it's only gonna be a $300 maximum anyway, but I think we should just make sure that, so there is no scamming going on, I mean, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Like, Joe could have had like 200, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I
and
was gonna say, because
so, I
six,
mean,
we're not gonna pay that
right.
anyway.
so,
And maybe it's a different scenario for a pothole and a blown tire
Well,
than it
that's
is
what I
for,
was gonna say.
for damage.
Well, I could
caused
take my
by-
truck to police. They're gonna charge me $300 for the tire. I could take it to town fair. They're gonna charge me $200.
right,
So that's why you should have at least two.
yeah.
But if you go to town fair and they don't have the tire, you're gonna wait 3 days, you're gonna rent a car. I mean, again, for a blown tire,
Everybody's gonna go
think
for the max anyway.
For the tire, I would say one's fine, but if they go for a rim,
I,
something
Oh,
like
that's-
that.
I
that's
agree.
different,
I agree with you.
Then go.
I agree with you.
So when you guys do this form, as long as we're doing it over,
Mhm.
can you just look at different,
Yeah.
again, not like 10 different specific scenarios, but kind of in general of a loss of use of, again, we're talking about vehicle usually, right?
Right,
So loss of use of a vehicle versus
So we're,
The-
Cosmetic.
The easiest way might be if.
Well, the
up to
max
three-
coverage, it says the max coverage for a pothole claim is 300, so that could be, that's, everything. I
Makes it
know
easy.
somebody, I know there was in the past, oil pan and it was like $25,000 damage. You're only gonna pay
Yeah.
300, so.
right,
And that's
you
what I was
know.
gonna say, put it so it's like up to $300, you need one quote. Anything over $300, you need two quotes or three. quotes or
Okay, yeah,
something like
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can do that.
It covers,
And we-
because most tires are gonna be under 300.
As long as we're
Well,
doing it,
unless
just,
he keeps making inflation go up, but.
as long as we're doing it, just be creative. I mean, just kind of look at all scenarios.
300 for the
Yeah.
past 5 years.
and
look at
it
it.
sounds like we,
Look at a tire, the more it's gonna be too,
and we
And I
actually
think,
sort of gotten off
I think
topic a little
Mrs.
bit.
David's car was a Mercedes.
Yes, it
So,
was a Mercedes,
mean-
so I'm sure that the tire is not cheap. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
they do a whole different kind of rubberized,
Right.
different tires.
So we're doing $300 to
And even though I live in
Linda
Ward 5, I
David,
can't afford a
and
Mercedes.
you guys will figure out how to
We'll work on it.
make the system better.
Word of advice, if there's water in it, it's usually a pothole. So. All right, next.
All right. Consideration of advertising requirements for boards and commissions.
Yes, I asked that to be put on this. I mean, similar conversation, to have it done 3 times could take 6 weeks potentially, depending on how often we meet. Seems like it's too long. I want to grab somebody before they change their mind if they're going to volunteer to actually help us out. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the impetus was back when it was put in place.
There was just.
And is it an ordinance? It is, yes.
When it was put in place, it was put in place because people didn't know about the ad. People were coming to council members saying, I didn't know that was a position, or they didn't have actual time to put that application in. Now it's even harder because you do have to do a background check. You do have to get that done. So if a person's running a kind of a busy schedule, it kind of works out. But one of the reasons why was individuals were coming to us saying, hey, you're just filling these positions with, with people, but you don't even know who wants to be on the board. There could be more qualified person. And so that's why we talked about it. This is going back to Drew, Kelsey, myself, Angelo. That's how long ago it's been. So that's our council. I think it's going back, when's the ordinance? 2008, 10?
If it was Kelsey, it had to be before 10 because I got on in 10.
Might have been you.
No, I remember that.
So when you know that a position on a board is going to be up,
Memory's going.
Mhm.
what's the time frame? Will you let us know, like, say it's, what are we in, February? Say there's,
Yes, we are.
say it's March 1st, that the
Mhm.
term is up.
Yep.
At what point will you be letting us know there is a term up on board X?
So the way that we've been doing it is Paula sends out the renewal letters like 2 months in advance, and then we put it on the agenda. So that way the people who are reapplying.
They have 2
the ch-
months.
Well,
before
yeah,
that
I mean, so if it's
position
March
is-
1st, for instance, like the Board of Canvassers position has been on your agenda since the middle of January for a March appointment.
All right, so you're looking at 6 weeks.
Mhm.
So is it all consistent? Like it's one's
Yeah.
8 weeks, one's 6, one's 4 weeks?
So because of the requirement of 3 times, it just tends to default to like 6 weeks
Okay.
in advance. But for instance, we have right now a resignation that has just come in for the Recreation Committee, and we already have someone who's interested. However, the Recreation Committee resignation is going on the March 1st agenda. Per your ordinance right now, it would have to be advertised until mid-April before you could appoint a person to fill that. So now you are handicapping yourself to, have that vacancy.
So people have enough time to know because it's 6 weeks.
Right. So, I mean, other ways you can do it, we can post the vacancies on the website. I think maybe bringing more awareness might be helpful in that respect, using electronic forms.
I don't think it's a bad idea to post it early when you know there's going to be a vacancy.
So
You can
that's a
still do that,
reappointment,
but I think
right?
in a situation, like you said, where we're going to have somebody gone from the board and we want to fill it sooner than waiting 6 weeks, I think it makes sense to.
Maybe more of a time frame as opposed to 3 meetings.
Change the word from vacancy because it makes it seem like it's just,
So
somebody
I
got
did-
left. And just put it as a different wording of some sort, like an opening or.
You'll notice under the upcoming appointments, I did change the language for you guys. So for instance, on the sewer use board of review, it's alternate member vacancy. That's a true vacancy. Where you'll see on the Board of Assessment and Review, it says one reappointment. So that is an upcoming appointment that we're advertising versus a true vacancy. So if you're looking at this list, the only real vacancies is the sewer use board of review, 2 positions. And actually now that's it. Other than that, all of those are coming up as reappointments. Because the planning board you just filled.
But we will have another planning
You'll have
board
another
for
one,
for an
right.
alternate, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm good with two meetings, 2 weeks or 2.
Yes,
weeks.
I hate to say 2 meetings because that could be 2 months in the summer if you don't meet.
So I say, why don't you do it for 30 days or something like that?
Do you
And
have a suggestion what you did in your former life?
We didn't have a constraint like that. We didn't put it on our agenda like you guys do. We advertised it on our website. We advertised vacancies via social media and we posted at each meeting, we had a posting of vacancies. That's the way that we
And-
did it.
So the way it's worded now with the reappointments, it almost kind of makes it look like they're getting the job, so don't bother. You know what I mean? With that wording there. So
Well, I think that. in-
I appreciate
in
the
an
fact
effort
you
to
changed
try
it
to-
because, right,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's just that having it as a reappointment, I don't know if it could be like / opening or
But it's not,
opening.
that's the thing. It's not an opening unless you guys decide that you don't want to reappoint whoever's currently sitting in that position.
Well, like
And
we
there's
said
a
at the last
possibility,
meeting,
yeah.
that, nobody's guaranteed a reappointment. So that's why I'm saying if somebody comes along with better qualifications, or, we're sitting there looking, saying, all right, John's not doing his job right, but he's the only one there and we need to fill it. So we're going to put John back, even though we'd like to see somebody else.
So what language would you like to use for that instead?
I'm suggesting like reappointment / opening. That way it's, people know that it's going to be a full term and the reason why it's opening is because, I don't know, does that make sense to everybody else or?
Yeah, that's
The reappointment sounds like just, it's a lifelong. You're on there until you don't want to be there anymore. Like to me, if a seat came open,
If it says reappointment / opening, we know there's somebody in the role now wanting to stay in the role, but
we would know that
if
through
the
their
council
application,
decides to go with somebody else.
right?
Well, yeah, you would know it, but again,
We would know, but the average citizen who goes on the website and looks, they
yeah, if
wouldn't
you put
know.
reappointment / opening, that way there, the person online could say, well, there is an opening, maybe they'll consider me better than the previous person.
Right.
So I'm not sure where we landed, I have to be honest with you.
We got the reappointment.
Yeah, and I got
Slash
that, yeah,
opening.
yeah.
But
So
as
is a
far as
time
days
frame.
out, time frame,
I-
if you go 30 days from the first advertisement, or 20 days from the first advertisement,
Yeah,
And actually improve, use social media, use the website, our new website when we have it, yes,
if you do 20
conference
days,
call tomorrow.
okay.
yeah, I think 20 days seems like a more reasonable time frame.
like
Yeah,
an ordinance, it's just like a
Yeah.
stop sign.
it's, I mean,
It's 20
yes,
days.
20 days from first advertising,
yeah.
So we'd have to change that ordinance, so.
right?
Maybe
I
two
think
meetings
that
on that.
might be something that Al can help with, maybe.
And again, I still like the idea,
Is he
if
still
you know
on?
there's gonna be an opening in 6 weeks, like, there's no reason we can't advertise it sooner, so people know as soon as we know there's an opening.
So what do you consider the advertising? The first time it's on the agenda or the first time that it's posted?
I would say
Somewhere.
posted,
First time posted on the agenda.
posted. Well.
On the
no,
agenda
that's-
or like the website?
Well, it's
Yeah.
posted to post. I mean, once it gets out there, it's the first time it's out there. So whether it's here or it's on the,
And
Well,
within
it's
those
gotta be
20
like
days, it'll be on
newspaper,
agenda,
But it's gotta
right?
be
So-
consistent. though.
yeah, it said, yeah.
It has to be consistent.
I just want to make sure we have. the
Has to be
correct-
30 days or more.
Though we just said 20.
No, I'm saying, because
Al wants to
advertises
chime in. I see his
now.
little blue icon. What do you have to add, Al?
Hi, Al.
Hi, I'll work with Sarah on it. I think maybe, and I have no idea whether I should check some general laws to see if there's anything there that will put a damper on it and see what a couple of other communities are doing. But I'll work with
Okay.
Sarah and get back to you on it.
It
Yeah, I
has to be
mean,
done
the,
through an ordinance anyway, so.
the goal is to expedite getting these positions filled.
I'm thinking in terms of when I come before you with an ordinance or zoning, the the statute, of course, that's statutory. And it just says once a week for 2 weeks or something of that nature, not dependent on the council meetings. So let me work with Sarah on it and put, a memo together before we go to the ordinance.
So would be amending the current ordinance, or could we just retire how does that work, Al?
We'd have to amend the current ordinance,
Okay. Okay,
which I'm not familiar with, don't recall exactly what that says, but I'll check into it and
okay.
work with Sarah on it.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you.
Okay, upcoming appointments. Sewer use
Is that a
board review.
reappointment or an appointment? I'm kidding. Sorry, yeah.
Don't worry, I'm going to use the new suggested language.
All right.
Sewer use board of review, one alternate member vacancy with a term to expire October 2024 and one vacancy with a term to expire October 2023. Board of Assessment and Review, one reappointment / opening with term to expire March 2025. Board of Canvassers, one reappointment / opening with term to expire March 2028. West Warwick Public Library Trustees, two reappointments with terms to expire February 2025. I'm sorry, reappointments openings. And Planning Board, one vacancy, which has now been filled. Public forum.
Public comment. Just want to, before I go on, received a thank you card from the Iantelli family, thanking you for the basket and the flowers. So just want to give that out. And the other thing I would like on the next agenda, I know because I don't want to talk about it here tonight, and I know it's getting close to, is baseball fields being locked. I know I just want that on the next agenda for discussion. I was at a function over the weekend, and a group of parents who like to take their kids to the ball fields, Ray Silver, Natick, during the spring and summer to practice on their own time, they can't get into those fields. So we need to talk about that and see what we're going to do. I know why they're locked, but should they be is the question.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
Other comment? I apologize. I forgot to add this when we made the appointment for the planning board. I didn't vote. I don't know if you can tell with the mask, but I didn't vote because due to a decision from the Ethics Commission, I have to recuse myself from voting for the planning board. So if you could please just note that.
Sure.
Ready? Come on.
Fred Gill, Public Works Director. Just one thing before I forgot to tell you that on those the claim forms for the 3 quotes we used to get. So you could have paid $400 for the new tire. So if you got 3 quotes and one was like $260, the town would pay the $260. So it was always a quote that would actually pay for.
It's like a bidding process. Lowest bidder wins.
Correct.
Lowest score wins.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. Just a couple of quick points. I see that we have a little icon up on the screen. If somebody puts their hand up on
Zoom. Yes.
Zoom, thank you, thank you. I don't know why we don't utilize that because that screen is far away. I want to see you. I see you. Got a little glare coming from the skin. A lot of skin up here. But why couldn't we have the Zoom screen up there so the people in the audience could see who's actually out there?
We can't see it.
That's why do we have it here? And maybe you guys should be able to see that too. You could utilize that screen. I mean, we talked about putting agendas up there. That didn't go anywhere. When we had presentations, like the planning board, they'd come in and put up an easel.
Yeah, we've been starting to use it.
Yeah, I don't think Al was on video. I think he was just on audio tonight because we've had the people on video, I think.
Yeah, but I've not seen it up there on the screen.
we had, the-
Yeah, I had switched it to him
Yeah.
before when he was speaking.
Oh, yes, but no, well, I mean, the screen, you can see there's a half a dozen people out there.
He
What
has a
you're
different
seeing-
screen than we do.
I do.
Right.
What you're seeing there is what's being broadcasted on YouTube, is what you're seeing right there. That's not actually the Zoom.
Okay, so that's what's being broadcast for the folks that want to watch at home and not.
Correct.
Thank you. That
You're
answers
welcome.
that.
If you want to see who's on Zoom, I think if you log in.
If you log in, yeah,
to
you
Zoom,
can
you
see
can
it.
see who's there.
I see.
Correct.
Number two, we discussed boards and commissions and committees and whatnot, and I don't want to beat that dead horse any longer. So I'll make it quick. There was a meeting quite some time ago, 2-3 years ago, where it was discussed in depth and talked about people who were qualified for different committees or boards or reappointment, and people that have served on a board that were considering being reappointed, they would always have a priority. Because if they're qualified, they're qualified. So somebody else that comes in. So that was something that I believe the entire council at the time were all in agreement that if someone wanted to reapply for the position they currently hold, then they were going to get the seat. So that was one point. The next point, and I've lost it, it's going to come back probably when I go sit. Oh, reaching out, if your seat is up for to expire, and I mean, couldn't we just reach out? What is your intention? Are you intending to continue?
The clerk does that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yes.
You,
Oh,
yes.
okay, great. Last, $500,000 from the windmills. Where does that money go? The profit from the windmills?
It goes into the energy fund.
In the energy fund? And what is that fund?
It's where we keep track of all the revenues and expenditures and payments of debt service. It's where we track everything that pertains to energy.
Okay. And March 8th at 6 PM. I think that's it. That's all I had. Oh, one more. I'm sorry. I'm just having a bad night. What does the town owe currently on these windmills?
That's on, we'd have to.
I mean, how many, we have a number of years left to go on that.
It's at least 15.
I would,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's,
15 million.
Oh, so, well, the 100,000 or $500,000 a year, shouldn't that go to wash down the 15 million that
Well,
we
there's
owe?
also
on?
that's a-
maintenance of them. There's, there's painting of the foundations. There's all sorts of things, but at least we're paying for it out of the energy fund. There's a lot of
So the energy
True.
fund would be part of paying what we owe on them? and the
maintenance.
ma-
Correct.
Okay,
Oh,
correct.
So Tom, when it comes to budget time, you'll see in each department, the Civic Center has their own line item for the wind turbine. I forgot the actual name for it, though. It's,
Some people call it electricity, some people actually call it wind turbine.
yeah, so in there, it'll be a fee that's put in there as a department, and that's what they're responsible for recouping to pay the debt service back based upon their energy usage. So yes, we have to pay so much a year back to obviously our loans, very low interest loans, by the way, and as it's paying down, each department's responsible for that in their budget per se. But as far as money changing due to and due from, it's just clear, it's just more of a
paperwork.
paperwork
Jason.
type of thing, yes.
Education, thank you all.
You're welcome. Any other public comment?
Clarify the March 8th meeting, so I'm gonna cancel the rec committee meeting. And then are you gonna invite, or do you want me to
You can invite your board.
work that out? My board,
It's you.
and you guys will take care of the leagues and
We will have
all that stuff?
department heads reach out to them.
You,
Alright.
you should,
How did you do your last agenda? Who'd it go to?
The agenda went to Krista last night because we we're having a blizzard, but the time before that, I sent it to Sarah.
But I mean, who were the
informed the
invitees?
leagues?
Who were the invitees? Yes.
So it's the board members, Mark gave me a list, it's the board members, it's
Should be the same.
Mark?
Yeah, I would reach
You
out
guys-
to the leagues,
Should
like
be
you
the
did, and
same.
let them know that this meeting will.
If they hear,
this we're gonna
More
speak
people to
about.
hear it, different, multiple ways, we'll have,
I mean, you can
People
utilize Lori, she has
participating.
every contact for every league in town, so.
I have that list. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So either or, we can utilize us and it is.
I just don't want to be
town-
sending a bunch of invites. Everybody's like
Well, that's
overlapping
why
one
I just
another.
want to make it clear. It's a town council meeting, not a recreation committee meeting. So he shouldn't have to do that.
Okay.
Because everybody's going to think it's a recreation committee meeting when if
Okay.
we, the
so
town.
you cancel your
have those
meeting.
I'll cancel my recreation committee,
Correct.
guys.
You let
And
your
we'll-
board know
Right.
what's going on if they
Right.
want to
I just
attend.
wanted to
It's
clarify.
gonna be a
that.
very limited item agenda, so I mean, I could
One. Okay.
draft it Thursday and we could have it available.
Well, on your agenda, I know it's what it's going to say, but you might want to put your ideas on there so everybody can. show interest.
Maybe, yeah,
It'll be a long agenda.
yeah,
then.
yeah.
All right, so I'll just take care of the board.
You're gonna cancel your
Yes.
meeting.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Any other public comment?
I just have one last thing.
Hold on one second.
Someone?
Go
Oh,
ahead, Mark.
Wait till Alan's, because what I have is like so minimal that it's like not that important at all.
Okay. Alan?
Alan Palazzo, 5 Robin Lane, West Warwick, and I've got several items. The first has to deal with Med Recycler. I'm not sure if any of you have visited since the last meeting, but over the past week or so, they unloaded 15 flatbed trailer trucks from that building, which to me seems to be a lot more than the $30,000 tax evaluation. I'm wondering if you actually have a firm status as to the plant. And I'll leave it at that. You might want to provide an update at the next town council meeting. Along the same lines, the town manager spoke of the America Recovery Act and the funds available. 2 items you might want to consider. One I've raised before about remediation for River Point. I've been in contact with DEM. I'm waiting for them to get back to me. The other one, sort of take any shadow away from the town manager because he was the former chief. You might want to consider redoing the town hall and the station with some of that funding to bring it up, renovate it, make it look decent again, instead of a dingy drab building from the 1950s. Just something for consideration. Third item, with regard to the senior tax exemption, the homestead. I know the president's reached out to people. I'm not sure where you are with regard to possibly forming a steering committee, a commission to look at it. And I just wanted to point that out. Mr. Goslin, thank you for reaching out to some of the constituents, but I think we need a bigger audience than where you were. The veterans rep. Are we going anywhere with that one? Hopefully, you're looking firmly at that one. And lastly, at the town council meeting on 18 January, there was an item to go into the executive session and it just said potential litigation. Based upon that statement and lack of any further information, I filed the complaint with the Attorney General's office on the 21st. On the 24th, the Attorney General's office directed the town and the town solicitor to respond. By law, they had 10 business days. So I waited. By my count, it should have been up on 10 February. I gave them an extra week. I filed a follow-up with the Attorney General's office on Friday. The Attorney General's office came back, and within a half an hour, Mr. Williamson had responded to that. Now, here's the issue. The current contract notes that the town solicitor is Timothy Williamson Esquire. The previous contract indicated Williamson Law. However, in the response to the Attorney General's office, which was prepared by Ms. Fontaine. It was on a letterhead of Williamson Law, which is sort of confusing on my part. So perhaps at the next meeting, you can discuss exactly who is the town solicitor. What are the parameters for town work? Additionally, in the AG's response, they were to address my complaint. The response provided by Williamson Law more or less did not answer that. It just provided information as to what went on in executive session, which is kind of confusing once again, because it didn't deal with the AG's direction. I cut them the break. Okay, they were 1 day late. However, it did not address the issue, the lack of specificity. What were you discussing? Something should have been there. It's in detail in the response provided by Williamson Law, but it was not in enough detail on the agenda itself. I would suggest that you look at this item at the next meeting, either in executive session or in public forum. Considering the Williamson Law response, the AG considered it to having been detailed enough to be considered confidential and asked for something that addressed my complaint. The response that I received that was forwarded to me by Mr. Williamson was a detailed explanation of what went on. Two entirely different animals. And I would suggest you look at this, because this is a type of legal service we are paying for. You have any questions for me? I'm sure Mr. Knott has the response from the AG, as well as what Mr. Williamson forwarded to me that afternoon, within a half an hour of the AG's tasking. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Alan.
The med recycler situation, I did speak to the owner and asked him, any kind of status that he'd be willing to give. And he just basically said that they're in litigation with DEM, and that's all that he's going to say about it. So that's basically it right there. He was very nice. He said, West Warwick Council's treated him good and so on and so forth. But that was basically it for that. As far as that last issue, Mr. Williams is not here, so I think we should hold off. But I really do think that we need to have some type of a meeting, whether executive session or open session, to try and figure out exactly who's supposed to be answering. I'm assuming you're the one that was just mentioned. We haven't met yet, so I was going to introduce myself afterwards. But Ms. Fontaine, right?
Yes.
Yes. So it's just to get it on the record, which contract is the one that's binding right now, and who should be doing the legal work, and do we need to make a corrective contract? What the situation is, just so we don't have these run-ins. And then, as Mr. Palazzo just said, with the explanation that was sent to him, which basically spoke about what was discussed in executive session, to me, I don't know if that's any kind of a violation. I know we can't walk around and talk about what we had said in executive session, and now this is put out in an open letter to a citizen. So I think that has to go on an agenda and be discussed.
Well, I think part of it is when somebody files that records request through the Attorney General's office, or file the complaint through the Attorney General's office, no matter what's discussed with the attorney. Let me clarify, and you can go into our response to the Attorney General has to go to the person who also filed, if I'm correct. And not open records request. It's what was the matter on the thing. I don't know what was sent to Alan.
Exactly, that was sent to us.
So, we can discuss that and get an answer, but I mean.
I didn't prepare the response, so I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't provide you any information as to what is going on. I know that a response was given, but I did not draft it. So you'd have to talk to Mr. Williamson about that.
So now this is the second time that we're gonna discuss this. This
Well,
gets,
can we stop? Because it's not on the agenda and I'd much rather have it.
Well, I want to say it's signed by Timmy Williamson because I got it right here. So
Yeah. And, but again, I would.
emailed from you. So it was signed
You
by
emailed
Timmy.
it, yeah.
You
Oh,
emailed. it.
you know,
But
it
that's-
wa- it
But
was,
you work for the
You
office.
emailed
so I
it.
expect-
so let's stop right there.
I
Okay,
think I
let's
might have
stop
been
right there. So
CC'd on it.
the
I'm not sure if I
contract,
sent it.
Timmy Williamson, I wish my dad was here, but I'm sure he's coming soon. The contract with Timmy Williamson is with Timothy Williamson Esquire, not Williamson Law. Therefore, there should be no correspondence from anybody other than Mr. Williamson himself. Period.
And again, I
There
think
should be
this-
nobody, no. And then
Should be
now
on
this
the
goes
agenda.
back, to my litigation. Okay? Mr. Williamson has a lifelong contract. We all understand that. There's no deadline. There's no debt, there's no end to it. However, when it says Timothy Williamson Esquire, not Williamson Law, we'll go back to in the courtroom at Kent County Courthouse, where I have two representations from the town of West Warwick sitting on solicitors side by side. Now, Ms. Fontaine, nothing personal, I don't know her, works for Williamson Law. Now, tonight, she's sitting here in place of Timothy Williamson because he can't make it. That seat should be empty. She is not on the contract at all because she works for Williamson Law. Just saying,
and that's why
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I would recommend that we put it,
We're in a violation again, a breach of contract now.
that's why I recommend we put it on the agenda so we
What
can
I wanna
actually
put
get
on the
it.
agenda, what I want on the agenda, and I won't be here March 1st, maybe I'll come in on Zoom. We need to put this position out to bid. End of story. This needs to stop. This man is controlling this town, puts in whoever he wants to sit in his seat. Can't do that. The contract doesn't say Tara Fontaine, Williamson Law. It says Timothy Williamson. So if he's absent, she's absent.
So Mark, let me just
End of the
clarify.
story. Let's put this to bed. It's time for a new
Williamson
solicitor in
reached
this
out-
town.
Mr. Williamson reached out to both of us saying he wasn't going to be here tonight. And
Then I'll-
Tara was
then
going,
let me sit
Mr.
there.
Reed, please let me speak.
Yeah.
He said Tara will be here in his presence and he'll try to make it here if we're here later. And do we have a problem with that? Did we not agree to this?
Yes.
Thank you. Correct.
I still would like to have it on the next agenda to discuss whether it's an executive session. I mean, but to me, it's already been put out in the public. Because now Mr. Palazzo can do whatever he wants with that letter. Because it's his, so to me, it doesn't even have to be an executive session anymore.
Well, to be honest with you, after last discussion that we had in the second executive session, it's out of our hands anyway, so I could care less at this point.
Right, well, and
Because the second meeting did happen, it was discussed, and, it's in the trust hands. So I'm good with, I could care less if it's public at this point. At the time, it was legal matters that we needed to protect the town and we needed to discuss. So you have
Okay,
to,
so let me stop right there. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful tonight, but we've been down these roads. Okay? If it's okay for Alan to have in detail
not in total detail.
what you talked about in executive session, I think you might want to read it. Okay? Let's listen to him. He said in detail, Alan doesn't tell
It's
stories.
the person, yeah, it's about the
Okay.
person, about what the discussion.
Okay, but it was
yeah.
it was about your discussion in executive session. That means,
It's not what each individual
But-
said, it's not broken down to
okay,
what
but
the
it
recording.
But it
none of that.
refers to topics in your executive session. Now, there's been executive sessions about Reed's Landscaping versus the town versus foreign properties that we weren't invited to, have no idea what was said. So now that you said that it's okay for what they did with this letter, I want to know what was said in those meetings about us, because I have every right to
File a
right
complaint
now.
with the Attorney General's office.
Huh?
Did you file a complaint with the Attorney General's office?
If you'd like me to,
No, I'm saying back then, Mr. Palazzo filed. an
I didn't
open
file
meeting
one.
Violation.
we let that go. You said we could leave the room that night. We did. We let you guys discuss. But what I'm saying is you just said you don't care because it's in the trust hand. Regardless, there's executive session does not have minutes, but there's a document that came out that says what was said in executive session. That way there, now I want to know what was said in executive session for Reed's Landscaping versus the town of West Warwick versus 4N Properties. I have every right to know that now. Right or wrong?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's why I'm asking to have it put on the agenda so we can figure out what's right, what's wrong. And if we did screw up, so we don't screw up again in the future, because that's the whole point. We are human, we're gonna make mistakes. And that's the bottom line. It's when we continually make the same mistake that irritates the heck out of me, because that means we just don't care. We do what we want to do. And we can't do that.
Mr. Goslin and council, if I could interject, I made reference to the AG's response to my follow-up last Friday. I sent it out about noontime. I received a response at 10:05 approximately. And they informed me that they had in fact received the response, but they considered it to be too specific and it should have only been discussed, or the information should have been covered in executive session. And they directed the town solicitor to straighten that out and provide an answer to my complaint. Within a half an hour, I received a response from Mr. Williamson, which was the complete package in detail. It looks like they turned around what they had sent to the Attorney General and sent it to me rather than winnowing it down so that it addressed the issues raised by the Attorney General. I would hope, I would ask that all members of the council look or receive a copy of the Attorney General's email of Friday, as well as the response provided by Mr. Williamson. If you don't have it, I can provide it to the town manager, and I'm sure he will make sure that all of you get it. I just wanted to put that out. How you deal with it is your ballywick. I'm just providing it out there. As I said over and over again, I'm tired of wasting tax dollars for the legal services that we're getting. And, you know, I'll just
Mr.
keep putting it
Palazzo,
out there.
Mr. Palazzo, can you just forward it to all the council members directly?
Okay, that I can do.
Easier that way.
I have a question on this, and not to prolong the night, but just to make sure that we're covered. So it's a legal question. So something happens like this, and Joe Q Public makes a complaint. Same thing as Mr. Palazzo did. That comes out makes a complaint regarding our executive session. Now, executive session, we don't talk about it in confidence. That goes to the Attorney General. At that point, that response comes back to the complainant. So if it's something that obviously we don't want to get out, it's an executive session. And then something like this happens, which may affect litigation that we have. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. But somebody from the public knows about this case. Help me out here. Somebody from the public knows about this case. And how can that affect us? Because obviously it came to us in confidence regarding an issue.
Mhm.
And now somebody from the public is aware of the issue. What if that person, I'm not saying that Mr. Plaza will do anything, but somebody from the public now can begin showing something that probably shouldn't happen. That's why it's done in executive session.
But Mr. Williamson warns us all the time during public session to watch what we discuss because it's not an agenda item. So I'm
This is not an
gonna,
agenda item.
right, it's not an agenda item. I'll throw it out there.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I will say that anybody who obtains anything legally can do whatever they want with it. And it's like if somebody gets arrested and I get a copy of that arrest report legally, I can file the proper paperwork and I get it legally. Then 5 years later, that case gets expunged. I still get that legally, which means I can still put it out there as a citizen where the police department is like, no, we don't have any record of that, but I can show the record of it because I obtained it legally. Now, if I obtained it illegally and put it out there after it's expunged, I'd be liable. But if you obtain something legally and you put it out there, there's nothing that can happen.
So I think we should honor Councilman Wajcik's request to put it on the next agenda and we should no longer discuss it because it's not on this agenda.
And I'd like it in an open session. How the council feels on
So
that.
just to clarify, your
let's
exact
find out.
agenda item that you're asking for is just to discuss that specific open meetings complaint.
No,
No, I don't think that's what he said.
What I would do is put it in writing for the clerk.
I'll put it in writing.
And that
for
way
you.
there's no
Okay.
miscommunication. Because we talked about a few things.
Yeah.
tonight, so.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Any other public comment?
Oh, my non-issue issue. Can we fix that? I watch almost everybody who walks up to the podium, go and put paperwork on it because that lip is so tiny. It's such an angle.
The
Can we do
school, the
something
high
about that?
school carpentry program is building us a new one.
Excellent, because I look at it, I'm
And
like,
that's a great thing. Yeah.
beautiful, perfect. See, it was a non-issue, but that's why I waited to the very end because it's just one of those things that for the last 15 years, I've been coming and sit at meetings and I just watch people flop paper all over the
And it's
place.
gonna slide over here a little bit, so it's not like in the middle of cameras.
I did notice Jeff screwed over to the side when he saw himself up there. Yes.
So thank you for.
Any other
taking
public
care of
comment?
That being said, motion
Hearing none.
to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
that. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.